Back with another video. I always forget to put my mic in the right place. Back with another video. It's your boy Yoyokami. And today, we're talking about anime. Now me, I'm a weeb. I watch a lot of anime. Actually, I used to watch a lot of anime. I don't even watch that much anime anymore. But I do watch anime. I read some manga. I read One Piece. I'm all caught up. And recently on Twitter, there's some viral tweets going around about a take from Twitch streamer Hassan Piker talking about One Piece where he said that Luffy is a terrorist. So let's watch that clip real quick.
Luffy is a terrorist. He is. He is.
I hate that. You're kind of right.
He is a freedom fighter in the most honorable sense of the word. Quite literally fighting against an unjustifiable, corrupt military apparatus that is holding the entire world hostage and the Navy. He's literally killing cops. He's killing sea cops and mother. They're like, no, that's not politics. What do you mean? That's just gum man having fun. Luffy.
Okay. So Hassan said that, and then this actually happened a couple of months ago when he was on the Trash Taste podcast. And there were some viral tweets that went around disagreeing and agreeing with, what Hassan had to say about Luffy being a terrorist. And when I originally heard the take, it just immediately screamed out to me as being retarded and wrong. And an attempt by a socialist, by somebody who is generally opposed to Western politics, capitalism, all that kind of stuff. It just screamed out to me as him trying to soften and make more acceptable dissident types of political opinions so that he could further his own leftist propaganda. I know you might think that's a bit of a stretch, but it's in our minds, generally speaking, in the West, we consider terrorism to be bad. So when you take a character that people like and who we ostensibly believe is good, and you associate them with a bad term, that calls into question whether or not being a terrorist is actually bad, and then that can begin to call into question whether or not people who are maybe the 9/11 attacks, which Hassan said America deserved, were actually a bad thing. Now, I'm not saying that there's no room to have that kind of nuance or have that kind of discussion, and I'm not even saying that there are characters that are terrorists where, maybe their terrorism isn't that bad. All I'm saying is he's just wrong when he says this. It's just not true. And I think the reason why he's saying it is actually two reasons. If you're not an anime fan, one, One Piece fans are delusional. I read One Piece, and like I said, I'm all caught up. I read it the day it drops. The scans! I don't even wait for the official. But One Piece is a 6 out of 10 story. It's not that good. 5 is boring, where the thing that you're reading is boring. Once you go above 5, it's okay, now we're having a good time. Right? Where 10 is a masterpiece, and 6 is oh yeah, it's pretty good. One Piece is just pretty good. But One Piece fans pretend it's the greatest work of fiction ever. It's just pretty good. It's not that good. So that's one part of it. He's a delusional One Piece fan. On top of him being a dumb fuck socialist. So let's go through why Luffy is not a terrorist. I have the definition right here. A person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Does Luffy use unlawful violence? Yes. Like Hassan said, he kills sea cops. I don't know if he actually kills them. Maybe he does. But it's unlawful for you to kill sea cops. Intimidation? Not really. Usually, Luffy doesn't think that far ahead. He kind of just does what he wants. But the intimidation part doesn't really matter. Especially against civilians. Does he attack civilians? Not really. But I got a video that we're going to watch, so maybe I'm wrong in that. In the pursuit of political aims. That's the most important part. If you wanted to condense down this definition, it would be a person who uses unlawful violence in the pursuit of political aims. The pursuit of political aims part is necessary for the definition. You can't have it without it. You can't be a terrorist without that. So, for example, the guy who killed 5 cops in Dallas, it was a few years ago. It was 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. He killed 5 cops and they ended up blowing him up with a robot or some shit. That guy was a terrorist. He was angry about the way that black people were being treated, and that motivated him to go and commit unlawful violence. That guy was a terrorist. If somebody has an illegal gun on them and a police officer stops them and they're afraid that they're going to go to jail for having an illegal gun on them and they end up killing the cop and running, that guy's not a terrorist. That person is a criminal, sure. That person is a fugitive, sure. But they're not a terrorist. They're not motivated by some sort of political aim to do what they did. They were self-centered, and they did what they did because they just didn't want to suffer any consequences for the crimes that they were committing. Does that sound familiar? It should sound familiar. So, here we have resident retard socialist Vosh talking about this take that Hassan had and how everybody was reacting to it, and he's defending Hassan's take. Let's listen. This is pre-watched, so I do know some of the arguments. I didn't do any research, and like I said, I read One Piece, but I'm not like a fanboy. I don't follow r/pirate folk or r/One Piece or some shit. I'm not going into the fan theories and reading threads on how Oda's such a genius. I don't do that because the story's not that good. Most of it is cope. I just enjoy the story very casually. But even I know with my casual enjoyment, actually probably not casually, because like I said, I'm a weeb. So I'll be rewatching shit. Sometimes I watch reaction videos. So I'm not like somebody who's only watched, one of every episode. There's multiple episodes that I watched multiple times and scenes that I watched multiple times. So I probably have a little bit more knowledge than the average fan. But just from casually watching this video, the arguments that he was making, I knew that this nigga was wrong.
We've been talking a lot about media critique lately,
Oh
which
shit,
is why
this
it's
is at 2
so
times speed. Let me slow it down.
near and dear to my heart that recently Hassan has been getting roasted over an objectively correct media take, and I wanted to talk
He should have been getting roasted because it was not objectively correct.
Trigger warning, One Piece conversation for people who can't stand insufferable fans of that particular media property. Now, I haven't watched the One Piece anime because I don't care. The manga is fantastic. I'm just going to say right off the bat, some spoilers of the story. However, it's such an expansive story that I genuinely don't think it's going to rob your enjoyment of the media very much. However, One Piece is fantastic. It's excellent. I strongly recommend you read the manga.
This is all a lie.
Okay, let's get started. So this
It's
is
not
important. There will be
excellent.
no
It's not
mono spoilers.
fantastic.
Thank you.
It's just pretty good.
A while ago, I think a couple
You can
of
read it
months
if you
ago,
want. It's not that big of a
Hassan
deal.
Piker made
You won't be
the
missing
argument
much.
that Luffy, who is the main character of One Piece, is a terrorist. This got him roasted, like a lot. This tweet has 22.4k likes. I saw one that had about 100k likes attacking him over this. There were articles written about this. It got a lot of attention from anime fans who think that Hassan is a normie who's imposing his political positions. Right. So there are already
That's
people
facts.
in chat who are saying he's correct. And that's because Hassan is correct. But I want to talk about it, okay? So I'm going to talk about this in two ways. First, for those of you who have read or watched One Piece but like listening to me talk, I'm going to explain why Hassan is correct. Or if you haven't read or watched One Piece, just sit here for 5 minutes and let me explain this to you, okay? And two, I'm going to explain why it's politically important that there are so many anime fans who can't stand to see Hassan being right on this one, okay? So, terrorism. Spooky word. Generally applied to people we don't like. One Piece is a story about Luffy, who's a boy who can stretch his arms and do big punches. Trust me, it's a great manga, all right? He's also a pirate. In the world of One Piece, basically everything is water, and what little land there is broken up between a wide range of islands and a long strip of land, and most of that land is controlled by a single one-world government called the World Government. They are
true.
the undisputedly most powerful organization on the planet,
All of
and
this is
Luffy,
true.
being a pirate, is not a friend of theirs, and vice versa. Pirates are...
We have to stop immediately. Well, actually, no. Hold on. Let me back it up.
called the World Government. They are the undisputedly most powerful organization on the planet, and Luffy, being a pirate, is not a friend of theirs, and vice versa.
We have to stop. Now, the way that you might take that characterization of Luffy not being a friend of the world government and vice versa is that Luffy hates the world government. Not really. Not particularly. Now, here come all the retard One Piece fans. What about when he shot down the flag? Do you know why he shot down the flag? He didn't shoot down the flag because he's principally opposed to the world government. He shot down the flag because Spandam was doing all this talking, jibber jabbering. We're the world government. We're the most powerful. This and that. You can't stop us. We can do whatever we want. He said, bro, I don't give a fuck about that shit. Burn it. I don't care. He didn't do it because he's principally opposed to the world government, because he wants to dismantle the organization and free all the people from... He did it because he wanted to save his friend, and this nigga was talking about his crew, about the world government, like they mean something to Luffy. He said, I don't give a fuck about the world government, and I don't give a fuck about that flag. Burn it. He's not opposed, he's indifferent. Like, and it's so shocking. It's so shocking. Because the first person that Luffy meets in One Piece is a future Marine. And right now, he's being hailed as like a hero of the Marines. And to this day, they're still friends. That nigga sees, oh, Kobe's doing good shit. Oh, Kobe saved these people. Kobe's doing this as a Marine. Awesome. He smiles. Kobe sees, oh, Luffy got a higher bounty. Cool. He smiles. The idea. I hate One Piece fans, and I hate leftists even more. The idea that that Luffy hates the world government. It's so stupid. Now, it's true that the world government as an entity considers Luffy a criminal. They have a bounty on his head. All of these things. But Luffy's not opposed to the world government. He's opposed to anybody who's opposed to him and his friends. That's it. Plain and simple. He has no political motivations. We'll continue. He'll continue to make retarded arguments, and I'll continue to debunk them.
So pirates are, of course, basically seafaring brigands, right? I mean, they run around and they rob people and ports. That's what pirates do, typically. That would make you a criminal. Criminals are enemies of the state. That's typically how that works. So what makes Luffy a terrorist? So One Piece is a really political story. And I'm not saying that in the way that I normally say something is political, like, oh, if you read the themes. I mean, there's literally a faction in the story of One Piece called the Revolutionary Army, and the central conflict of the story is about the politics of the world government, the way in which those political decisions have affected the world, the consequences, both social...
He's just fucking lying. That's not the central conflict of One Piece. That's like an incidental conflict. That's a conflict that's been happening in the background. And that's one of my main criticisms of One Piece that I've always maintained, is that there's so much interesting stuff happening in the background of One Piece, but the main characters do not care about it at all. That's been my central, because I go, wow, oh, the world government did that? I wonder how the Straw Hats are going to react. And they don't care. Luffy is just like, oh, I don't care. He picks his nose, flicks the booger away. Oh, I just want to eat meat. Well, I don't care as long as I'm having fun. That's been my main issue with One Piece, is that One Piece could be really entertaining and interesting, and but we never focus on any of the interesting stuff. But if you read the manga, man, One Piece has been going... One Piece is literally, like 1 month older than me. That tells you how old I am. Literally, it's like 1 month older than me. It started in like October of 1997. One Piece fans are reading the story and they're going, oh, this is the best arc. Currently, they're reading it right now and they're going, this is the best arc in all of One Piece. And I agree. And the reason why is because we're finally getting to the shit. We're learning about some of the niggas behind the scenes. We're seeing what the Revolutionary Army is up to. We're seeing niggas really go head to head. It's not just, oh, we went to this island and there are bad people and then we beat them up and then we have a party and then we go to another island and there's more bad people and we beat them up and then we have another party for like literally like 15 years. That's what they were doing for like 15 years. Like 15 years. And then finally, something happens, kind of like halfway through the story. And then they start like, okay, we're going to fight this really strong guy. And they work up to that for like 10 years and it was fucking garbage. And finally, we're actually reading some good shit. Finally, there's things happening, characters that we care about that are getting into conflicts, and the main characters are actually getting involved with real world conflict and learning shit about history, and finally. But the majority of One Piece has been ass. So this thing is saying that the central conflict is centered around the world government. No, it's not. It's not. Literally, they tell you. And if you ask One Piece fans, because there's a meaning is like, oh, One Piece doesn't get good until, episode 20,000. And One Piece fans started fighting back. They're like, no, it was actually good from page 1, chapter 1, page 1, line 1, where Gold Roger goes, I left all my treasure in One Piece. If you want to go find it, oh, sir, the Great Pirate Era, and Luffy wants to become king of the pirates. That's the central conflict. Everything that Luffy has done and continues to do centers around him wanting to become the king of the pirates. Now, to be fair, it's him wanting to become the king of the pirates in the way that he wants to do it. So there might be some shortcuts that he could have taken, but he doesn't want to take shortcuts because he enjoys the adventure. He doesn't want to leave people behind because he wants the freedom to be able to travel with people that he likes. I'll give you that. But the central conflict, what the story is entirely based around, is Monkey D. Luffy wanting to become the king of the pirates. This nigga is lying. He's coping. He wants this story to be about the political aspects and the world government and all that's what he wants. But that's not what it's actually about. We'll probably learn about that stuff. It might become important later. But for 25 years, this story has been about Luffy becoming the king of the pirates. That's it.
Social and interpersonal of those decisions and what has to be done to stop them,
Nope.
Now, Luffy himself.
Luffy does not give a fuck about stopping these niggas.
Is he the person on the right or the left of this image? Nobody knows. Luffy himself is an idiot. He has an IQ of 4. This is why he likes the ocean so much. It's because he is about as smart as a fish. Luffy's personal motivations, there are only 2 of them. One of them is that he wants to find the One Piece. Haha, funny meme. The One Piece is a treasure. We don't know what kind of treasure it is. That's what he wants to find. And 2, he wants to fight to protect his friends. He's an anime character, okay? That's his thing. That's what they do. They fight to protect their friends. That's like the main...
He doesn't even really want to fight to protect his friends. He fights to protect his friends because they need to be protected, because he's a criminal, and also because he has to go up against other criminals, being that he is one. But he's not even, that's not even really... he wants to get stronger because he knows he's going to have to fight people. But he's not, going around oh, yeah, fighting people is really, really, really what I want to do. He wants to fight people. He wants to be strong so that he can be free to do whatever it is that he wants to do. But his goal isn't to fight people. It's just to be free, go on adventures, and to find the One Piece.
main thing that they do. They all do this. It's the main thing they care about, okay? So if you asked Luffy anything political, he would answer by drooling. He's an idiot. That's the point. But everyone around Luffy is aware of what he's doing and what that means. The Revolutionary Army, the lieutenants of which Luffy is direct friends with and has worked with multiple times, consider Luffy to be an asset, and they continuously ally and find shared goals as they travel the world and do wacky anime hijinks together.
This is a gross mischaracterization. He is friends with 2 lieutenants in the Revolutionary Army, and then his father leads the Revolutionary Army. Although Luffy, I don't think he really knows who his father is at all. I think he's met him like once. He's probably been saved by him like twice. And Luffy wasn't really aware that that was his father saving him. Yeah, and I think when people found out, he was like, "Oh, Luffy, your dad is the leader of the Revolutionary Army?" Luffy was like, "Oh, I had no idea." And he picked his nose and he flicked the booger away. Like, I think that literally happened. Like, he did not give a fuck at all. Now, he is friends with 2 of the lieutenants. Of 2, I think there's like 5 or 6 maybe lieutenants in the Revolutionary Army. One of whom he considers to be like his actual literal brother, even though he's not his actual literal brother, but he considers him like one. And the other he met in prison, right? Do they travel around the world doing wacky hijinks together? No. He thought his brother died when he was like 8, and then he met him like 10 years later, maybe like 10, 12 years later, randomly, and they kind of halfway worked together during that story arc in one small portion, but then for the final finale, like for the finale of the arc, I don't even remember his brother even being there. For the like, I don't even remember that nigga being there. And then for the other person that he met in prison, he kind of just got like randomly saved by them. That was like the first time that he had ever personally met and interacted with somebody from the Revolutionary Army. The Revolutionary Army lieutenant just happened to be in prison. Luffy almost died. He got saved by a gay guy, a crossdresser, I'm not sure, who Luffy had met in the past. That gay guy / crossdresser just so happened to get saved by the Revolutionary Army person. Luffy goes, "Oh yeah, my name is Monkey D. Luffy." The Revolutionary Army person is like, "Wait, are you the son of my boss?" And Luffy goes, "Yeah." And then they work together to break out of prison. And that's it. I don't think they've ever worked together. Well, I mean, they did after that. Like, from that arc continuing into the very next arc, they continue to work together. But after that, I don't think they've ever met since then. So this characterization, oh, they just travel around the world with the Revolutionary Army people. No, the fuck they don't. There's the Straw Hat crew. They're doing their thing, which is Luffy becoming the king of the pirates. And then there's the Revolutionary Army, who are actually terrorists, who actually attack celestial dragons and marines and are actually trying to overthrow the government. They're actually terrorists. And remember, I like the Revolutionary Army. Real niggas, they do real nigga shit. Especially Luffy's brother, Sabo. That's the character's name. His name is Sabo. He's a real nigga. He does real nigga shit. I have no compulsion about calling them a terrorist. They are actually terrorists. The Straw Hats, they're just like vigilante. Not even vigilantes. They're criminals and they're what's it called? And fugitives.
Fighting governments, toppling agents of the world government.
Lies. All lies.
Stuff like that.
All lies.
Luffy explicitly declared war on the world government, has laid siege to multiple government institutions, oftentimes because of the consequences of their political decision-making.
Yeah, but he's not politically motivated. He doesn't lay siege to these political institutions in an effort to overthrow the political institution or because he has a disagreement with the policy of the political institution. Or insofar as like he doesn't have a principled stance against their policies. He just doesn't like when it negatively affects him. That's it. So if they're trying to take his friend to prison, then he'll lay siege to save his friend. Not because he thinks that it's wrong for people to go to jail, or he thinks that his friend did not commit a crime worthy enough of, like, no.
He laid siege to, I don't actually know how it's pronounced, Ines Lobby, to save Robin Nico, because she was branded a terrorist by the world government. He raided Impel Down so that he could save one of his pirate friends and brother from being executed, then broke out, and then attacked Marineford, which was like the center of the naval power of the world government, all to do the same. He continuously finds himself in conflict with the world government. He's labeled a pirate, but his actions, even if he doesn't think they are politically motivated.
No, they're not.
Or to put it another way.
I mean, here's a hypothetical, right? I think I might have already used the hypothetical, but again, if you were going to get arrested and you ended up killing the police officer because you wanted to escape, does that make you a terrorist? Are you politically motivated? If the only motivation for you killing the police officer and escaping is, well, I don't want to go to jail. No, you're not. Again, you're a criminal. You're a fugitive. You're not a terrorist. You're completely and totally self-centered, and you have no political motivations or aspirations. You only just care about yourself and your well-being. And if you extend that to people who are peripherally involved with you, I still don't think that makes you a terrorist. It's ridiculous.
Luffy isn't smart enough to understand that what he's doing is politically motivated, but everyone else does.
No.
The world government knows. Certainly, the Revolutionary Army.
No, the world government doesn't think that what Luffy is doing is politically motivated. Why is he saying that? The Revolutionary Army doesn't necessarily think that what Luffy is doing is politically motivated. I mean, if I want to get into it, I think the only reason why the world government and the Revolutionary Army are so, even as far as they are, because the Revolutionary Army, they're not even constantly opining like, oh, we need Luffy, we need Luffy, we need Luffy. It's not even like that. They just rock with Sun. But I think the only reason why people might be obsessed with him is because of the D in his name. Niggas still don't know what the D means. It's not like a middle initial. His name's not, Monkey David Luffy. That's not what the D is. There's just a bunch of people throughout the world, for some reason, they have a D in their name. Obviously, Luffy has one. But there are other people who are not relatives of Luffy who also have one in their name. Or at least they're not direct relatives of Luffy. And apparently people who have the D in their name are like natural born enemies of the world government for some reason. So maybe his existence is political, but he doesn't have any political motivations. And nobody thinks that he does.
Knows. Even people like Nico Robin know, who's on his team. She's part of his crew.
Now, Nico Robin does actually have some political motivations. And there was a moment in time during the story where the Straw Hats got split up, and they got split up for a couple of years, and during that period of time, they like trained and got stronger. And Nico Robin just so happened to meet up with the Revolutionary Army. And she's always had like kind of like political motivation. She's like an archaeologist, and so she's interested in history and all this kind of stuff. And that's actually why she got branded a terrorist, because the world government didn't want people looking into or knowing about the history of the world before the world government even existed. So she's always had some sort of like political motivations. And then when she teamed up with the Revolutionary Army for a couple of years, sure, you can make that argument about her, but you can't make that argument about Luffy.
True. I think the most explicit example of this, especially since terrorists are typically referred to as people who go after civilian targets, not always the case, but they often are, and it is related to his engagement with a figure known as a celestial dragon. So in the world of One Piece, here, let me see if I can find a picture of these guys, because I feel like the mangaka Oda tells you everything that you need to know about them just by the way he draws them. Let me see if I can. Here we go. So the subtle art of character design informing the perspective we're meant to have on this individual.
I think he's kind of right, but I don't think he's totally right, because there are plenty of ugly characters in One Piece that are actually good people. One person that comes to mind is that like half mermaid lady or whatever she was from Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Yeah, she obviously had a disgusting, horrible character design, but she wasn't like a bad person. So, but I mean, when you look at the Celestial Dragons, the vast majority of them, I can't even really think of one, at least who's not like a relevant character that doesn't look ridiculous. Even Celestial Dragons that turn out to be good people in the end, they almost always look like this stupid. They always, like, there's this one, at first he was like a piece of shit, and he treated fishmen, which are a race of people who are like half fish, half human. Or I mean, not even really. They're just like a different species who have human-like faculties. They're not really half fish, half human. They're just like people, but they're just a different species. Anywho, yeah, he treated them like shit, and he ended up on their island, which is on the bottom of the seafloor, and they could have just killed him. But the wife of the king of Fishman Island decided to treat him well and properly, and as a result, he stopped being a rat bastard like the rest of the Celestial Dragons. But he still looks ridiculous. He doesn't look as ridiculous like this. He doesn't have constant snot coming out of his nose, but he still looks ridiculous.
Celestial dragons are
The only Celestial Dragon that doesn't look ridiculous, though, Don Quixote do Flamingo.
essentially the aristocracy. They're the descendants of original royalty, and they're treated as demigods on Earth. If you say a bad word to them, they can shoot or kill you. They can enslave whoever they want. They can do whatever they want. That's the whole thing. They're not treated positively by the show or the manga's narrative, obviously. They are not good people. That's pretty consistently reaffirmed. That's not really subtle or ambiguous. They're also civilians. See, again, even though I don't think it's necessarily an important distinction when it comes to labeling somebody a terrorist is just a non-state actor who, engages in conflict for political means. The Celestial Dragons are civilians. They're not military personnel. They're not militarily trained. They're just people. People treated like demigods and aristocrats, but people. Luffy and his gang, in addition to constantly attacking military targets of the world government, also attack a celestial dragon, specifically because the celestial dragon was engaging in the practice of slavery.
This is a lie. He's lying. Luffy did not, and you know what? Because when he said it, the first time when I heard it, I had to think back to the moment. And go, is that even true? And it's not. I'll give you a short breakdown. Like I was saying before, there's a species of people called fishmen. Fishmen get treated like shit. So usually they just stay in the ocean. They usually don't come on land. This time, 3 fishmen met Luffy and his crew. A starfish person, who's just like a starfish, but he can talk. Like an octopus person, and then a mermaid, right? And this mermaids are really valuable, right? They're considered beautiful and all this kind of stuff. And people practice slavery in the world of One Piece. Not everywhere, but where they were, they hold slave auctions. So this mermaid girl got kidnapped and brought to the slave auction. The celestial dragon just so happened to be on the island that they were at when she got kidnapped and put into the slave auction. When Luffy and his friends found out that she was going to be sold at the slave auction, 1, they didn't know that the celestial dragon was going to be there, and 2, they went to the auction house. They didn't go to the auction house to destroy it and free all the slaves. They said, hey, we've been saving up this bread that we have for a rainy day. Or I think maybe they had to like coat their ship to go on to the next island or something like that. But they said, saving our friend is more important. So we're going to go to the auction and buy her. They didn't say, we're going to go to the auction and fuck shit up and free all the slaves because slavery is wrong. They said, oh, this is how shit works here? Well, we don't want to get in trouble because we're not here to overthrow the political system and change up the dynamic and create a paradigm shift. They didn't say that. We're not here to be political activists. They're not. They said, oh, our friend is in trouble? Then we'll work within the system to keep ourselves out of trouble and to save our friend. That's it. That's all they gave a fuck about. But what ended up happening was they had like, let's say they had like $300 million to purchase their friend. So they're doing the auction thing. And the celestial dragon just so happened to be in the auction house. Now, these people are like the descendants of the people who claim to have created the entire world. Like they keep people from learning about history before the world government existed. So obviously they're loaded. They can spend however much money they want. So they got like 500 mil. Or no, they have like 300 mil. And the auction has gone up to like 100. Like, ooh, shit's getting a little pricey. I hope we have enough. And the celestial dragon goes, I got 2 billion on her. Oh, it's GG's. It's GG's. So the octopus friend tries to like get in the way or create a ruckus, and the celestial dragon ends up shooting him. And that pisses Luffy off because the octopus guy is his friend. They're talking about, oh, we going, turn your friend into a slave, the mermaid girl. So then Luffy punches him in the face. He doesn't have a principled stance against slavery. He's not going all around the world freeing people of slavery. He doesn't give a fuck. He only cares about whether or not he's good and his friends are good. This nigga is lying. And I don't know if it's because, actually I've watched the whole video, and we're not going to watch the whole video in this video, but it's because he just wants to like muddy the definition of not even muddy the definition, because I don't think his definition is muddying anything, but he just wants to, I guess, inject some sort of political wokeness into the term so that you can think about different things in a different way, I guess, and then maybe off of that you might become more amenable to his position. But he also just doesn't even know anything about One Piece, or he's just coping to fit the definition of terrorist. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, it's just so obvious that Luffy's not a terrorist. In fact, to say that Luffy is a terrorist makes me think that you are less politically savvy than you claim to be. It's like the smell test. You just look at him and you go, bro, this nigga has no political motivations. How are you going to try and tell somebody, oh no, you do have political motivations, when they're telling you, no, I don't? When the way in which they act is emblematic of somebody who doesn't. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody else. This video is almost over.
I hope people,
or at least
in
the
my
part that I'm
audience
concerned
would
with
need
is
to
almost
have
over.
this like reaffirmed to them or would need to have this reminded. But sad as it may be, opposition to slavery is a political stance.
He's not opposed to slavery.
This is the pattern that Luffy keeps falling into. He does something for personal reasons. I want to save my friend. I think this is wrong. I think so-and-so.
Yes.
And his motivations are personal.
Yes.
But the thing that's motivating his personal beliefs or biases, they're political. He may personally
not
think
really.
that slavery is wrong. And what a great perspective for Luffy to have, by the way. I love that for him. I love that for him. But that is a political position. And what's more, in the world of One Piece, that is a contentious political position. Because the leaders of the world are...
Okay. Okay. I have to think of a hypothetical. I'm not sure how good it is. But working off the definition of terrorist, which is a person who uses unlawful violence and intimidation in the pursuit of political aims. And then working off of Voss's definition of terrorist. Back in the day, when people were less sympathetic to trans people, if some dude got tricked into having sex with, or quote unquote tricked, I don't want to make this too contentious. I don't want to make the hypothetical in and of itself too contentious. If some dude quote unquote got tricked into having sex with a trans person or getting intimate with a trans person before they discovered that they were trans, and then they killed that person in what they would call a quote unquote trans panic, right? Because they were just so upset by the fact that they quote unquote got tricked. Back in the day, that was permissible. It'd be like, yeah, you tricked that nigga into doing some gay shit, so he killed you, and it's reasonable for him to have done that, right? Now, if it was reasonable for him to have done that, there's no violence that could have been taken against him before or after the fact or during the fact that would have been lawful. The point that I'm making is, if somebody attacked somebody because they killed their trans friend in a quote-unquote trans panic, would that make that person a terrorist because they took unlawful violence against somebody, even though it was for a personal reason, but there's a political motivation behind it, which is that trans people need to be more accepted? No, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, I don't want my friend to be turned into a slave, so I punch somebody who's trying to turn them into a slave, and that makes you a terrorist? It's so stupid. If that nigga doesn't have a political motivation, he's not a terrorist. It's that simple. If he does it for a personal reason, because if he had a political motivation, they would have shut the whole shit down. You know why they didn't shut the whole shit down? Because they didn't give a fuck about anybody else in there. You can be a slave if you want, nigga. Escape if you want to. I don't give a fuck. Nigga Zoro is walking around town drinking booze, watching another nigga sit on top of another nigga. He didn't go, hey, you can't treat people like that. He only went to go cut those celestial dragon when that nigga pointed a gun at him. That's it. He saw a nigga get shot. He's like, oh, I'll take you to the hospital. Hey, you're in my way. He went to go cut him. No, he didn't. But he was like, you can't sit on him. What are you talking about?
allowed to have slaves. So Luffy is unambiguously a terrorist. The only argument that I see people throw
unambiguously not a terrorist. I can't believe this dog shit, scantily garbage, horrendous amount of evidence was used to try to justify that position
against him is that Luffy himself wouldn't consider him one. But I have one more counter argument, and that's that the story of One Piece acknowledges in one other specific way that what Luffy considers himself to be and what he actually is.
The rest of this I don't really give a fuck about. I mean, the example, the last argument that he makes is that Luffy doesn't consider himself a hero, but he is a hero. And so he uses that to say, well, Luffy wouldn't consider himself a terrorist, but he is a terrorist. Is Luffy a hero? Luffy is a good person. So he does good things. But he's not like a godlike person, right? There are some anime characters where it's like they'll sacrifice everything for the sake of saving any random person or doing good in the world. Luffy's not really like that. he does good things because he's just kind of like a naturally good person, but he's not like going super duper far out of the way to try to make the world a better place. He does things that he wants to do. He does things that he likes to do. And most of the time, the things that he wants to do and the things that he likes to do just so happen to be things that good people do. But he's not like an activist or something. Like if you take Deku from My Hero Academia, he is motivated by making a better society and saving people. Luffy's not really motivated by making a better society and saving people. He's motivated to like go on adventures, find the One Piece, have a good time, hang out with his friends. And if things happen that interfere with that, which really, I mean, none of those things are bad, right? Like being able to travel, having friends, having a laugh, none of these things are really bad. If he's anything that tries to interfere with that, that's what he'll fight against. So incidentally, the people who try to fight against somebody being free, having a good time, and laughing with their friends, they're usually bad people. So he ends up fighting bad people who are also doing bad things to other people, and so it makes him out to be a hero. He's not really a hero. He's just like a good guy who, you know, when he does things, they just happen to help people. Every single argument in this video was dog shit. The rest of this video is just talking about like terrorism, how people utilize the word, how depending on certain contexts, you know, some people are considered freedom fighters, some people are considered terrorists. I don't really give a fuck about that. I'm just saying, Luffy, not a terrorist. Anywho, let me know down in the comment section below whether or not you think I'm right, whether or not you think One Piece is actually like god tier storytelling and is like perfect. And if you like the video, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.